a gentle invitation to reclaim the peace you deserve. Have you ever wondered why, as we grow older, the noise of the world starts to matter less, and the quiet voice inside us begins to speak louder? It doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow, steady unfolding. Somewhere past the age of 50, we begin to feel it, the pull toward simplicity, toward clarity, toward peace. And yet despite all the wisdom we've gathered through the years, many of us still carry habits, beliefs, and expectations that quietly steal our joy, drain our energy, and prevent us from truly enjoying the final chapters of our lives. What if I told you that there are a few simple truths, things to avoid, and things to embrace that could completely transform the way you experience growing older? This isn't a lecture. It's not about rules. It's a reflection, a compassionate guide for anyone between the ages of 50 and 80 who still believes that life has more to offer. Because it does. You deserve to wake up each morning without regret, to walk through your days with dignity, and to rest each evening with a calm heart. In this video, I want to share with you 8 don'ts and 6 shoulds, not as commands, but as quiet insights. These are the truths that I've seen again and again in my work with older adults across the country, truths that help people feel freer, lighter, and more alive. So please stay with me. Listen with your heart. And if you find this message helpful, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, so you'll never miss a moment of reflection, wisdom, or encouragement. You might also consider watching this video all the way through, because sometimes the last truth we hear is the one that finally unlocks something we've carried for years. Let's begin. 1. Don't chase power or control in later life. There comes a time when the titles no longer matter. When the corner office, the meetings, the responsibilities that once kept you awake at night all begin to lose their weight. And yet, for many older adults, especially those who spent decades in positions of leadership or authority, letting go of that sense of control can feel like surrendering a piece of their identity. But I want to offer you another way to see it. Letting go is not the same as giving up. It is, in fact, one of the most courageous acts of wisdom a person can choose in their later years. When you stop chasing power, you start inviting peace. I once worked with a retired principal named Harold. He was 72 and had spent nearly 40 years leading a large school district. Even in retirement, he couldn't stop himself from showing up unannounced to the schools he once managed, offering advice no one had asked for. Eventually, the phone calls stopped coming. The invitations faded. And Harold felt rejected. But the truth was, he was not rejected, he was being asked, gently, to step into a new chapter. One that no longer required him to lead others, but instead, to finally lead himself. When we insist on holding on to power, we often drain ourselves of the energy we need to enjoy the blessings that are right in front of us. You may have spent your youth and middle years working tirelessly, meeting deadlines, making sacrifices, carrying burdens for your family or community. And now, in this sacred season of your life, you are being offered something rare: rest, restoration, reflection. But only if you allow it. Many older adults fall into the trap of thinking that staying in charge is a way to stay relevant. They believe that if they stop contributing in visible ways, they will be forgotten. But the truth is, relevance does not come from what you control. It comes from who you are when you no longer need to prove yourself. When your hair turns silver and your hands grow slower, that's not weakness, it's nature's way of inviting you into a different kind of strength. The kind of strength that doesn't shout or command, but that listens, blesses, and lets others rise. Especially the young. You don't need to sit at the head of the table to be respected. You don't need to be consulted to be wise. In fact, your presence, quiet, calm, centered, is often the most powerful thing in the room. Let go of the need to manage, to monitor, to control the lives of your children, your colleagues, your community. They will find their way, just as you once did. And you have earned the right to lean back, to breathe easier, and to enjoy the fruit of a life well lived. So the next time you feel the urge to step in, to fix, to organize, pause. Ask yourself, is this truly my place, or is this the moment to step aside with grace? The elderly who age with grace are not those who hold on tight. They are the ones who know when to release with wisdom, not bitterness, with peace, not pride. If you've spent your whole life climbing, working, and leading, this may be the first time you are asked to sit still and simply be. And that, my friend, is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your deepest freedom. 2. Don't revisit the workplace without invitation. Let the past breathe in peace. There's a peculiar ache that often visits us after retirement, a subtle pull to return, to check in, to remain involved in the places where we once felt needed, respected, and important. For many older adults, the workplace was not just a source of income. It was a community, a rhythm, a structure that gave each day shape and meaning. And so, after stepping away, it's only natural that part of you might want to return to drop by the old office, sit in on a meeting, or offer a suggestion when you hear about something that isn't going quite right. But I'd like to ask you to pause and reflect before you do. Because returning to a space that has moved on without you can sometimes do more harm than good, not just for those still working, but for your own peace of mind. There was a man I counseled years ago, Walter, 68, a former city planner. After retirement, he would stop by the municipal office every other week, often unannounced. He didn't mean to interrupt, he just missed being part of the conversation. But over time, the team grew distant. His presence began to feel intrusive, not welcome. Eventually, he stopped going, but not before carrying home a deep, quiet hurt. What Walter didn't realize is something many of us struggle to accept. Life moves on. And that's not betrayal, it's just reality. When we step away from a role, a chair, a responsibility, the world doesn't stop turning. Someone younger steps in. Systems evolve. Ideas shift. And that's not a loss, it's a gift. Because it frees you. You see, the truth is, the workplace you once knew, whether it was a company, a school, an office, or even your own business, is no longer what it was. The energy has changed. The people have changed. And most importantly, you have changed. Going back out of habit or longing might momentarily satisfy your nostalgia, but it often reopens emotional wounds that were meant to close with honor and dignity. It can lead to quiet resentment, unnecessary comparisons, or the painful realization that things are being done differently and no one's asking for your input. That's not because they don't value you. It's because your season there is complete. It's time to shift your sense of purpose to something new, not lesser, but different. Instead of looking backward to reclaim a version of yourself that once was, consider looking inward to rediscover the version of yourself that is still becoming. If there is a reunion, a special event, a meaningful invitation, go, and go with grace. Be present. Be warm. Share memories if asked. But do not linger in spaces that no longer belong to you. Not because you're not welcome, but because you deserve more than clinging to a past that no longer fits. This is the time to create something new. Maybe not something loud or grand, but something real. A garden you tend each morning. A poem you write in the afternoon. A conversation with your spouse you finally have the time to enjoy. These are not lesser moments. They are your moments now. You don't need to revisit the conference rooms to feel useful. You don't need to be seen in the hallway to be valuable. The legacy of your work lives in the people you mentored, the projects you completed, and the changes you made, some of which will ripple long after you're gone. So rest, trust, and let the past breathe in peace. You're not being left behind. You're being invited forward into a chapter where your presence matters, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. And that, my friend, is a freedom worth embracing. 3. Don't live with your children out of guilt or duty. Honor your right to peaceful independence. There's a beautiful instinct in parents that never quite fades, no matter how old we grow. It's the longing to care, to give, to stay close. And when we see our grown children burdened by work, raising their own families, fighting their own battles, the instinct to move in and help to cook, clean, babysit, or simply be there can feel almost sacred. But I've seen, time and time again, how this well-meaning sacrifice can slowly erode the last, most precious stage of your life. Let me say it gently but clearly. Living with your children in later life should never be an obligation. Not for you. Not for them. I once sat across from a woman named Ruth. She was 74 and had moved in with her daughter's family after her husband passed away. Just for a few months, they all said. But years passed. Ruth cooked every meal, watched the kids after school, folded laundry in silence, and began to feel like a live-in maid more than a mother. One day she said to me, "I feel like a guest in my own life." It broke my heart. Not because her children didn't love her, they did. But love without boundaries becomes a weight. A quiet burden that neither side dares to name. And so many older adults find themselves stuck in that unspoken discomfort, unwilling to disappoint their children, unsure if they even deserve a life of their own anymore. But you do. You've earned the right to peace, to space, to mornings that begin with birdsong, not alarms, to quiet coffee, not chaos, to choosing how you spend your hours, not having them scheduled for you by others' needs. Living separately is not rejection. It's respect for your rhythm, your rest, your right to live on your own terms. I'm not suggesting we abandon our families or withdraw from their lives. Far from it. But there is a profound difference between being available with love and being entangled out of guilt. When you live under the same roof, the emotional lines blur. You may find yourself taking on responsibilities you never agreed to. Or worse, slowly disappearing your voice, your preferences, your independence drowned out by the louder needs of a busy household. And sometimes, despite your best efforts, tensions build. Expectations pile up. Old wounds reopen. You become, unintentionally, a mirror for your children's stress, a reminder of their unfinished work, a figure they sometimes take for granted. You deserve more than that. You deserve to be seen. Not just as a helper. Not just as a grandmother or grandfather. But as a full human being with a life of your own. If your children struggle financially, you can still support them without surrendering your space. Help with rent. Assist with groceries. Visit every Sunday and bring joy, not silent exhaustion. But don't give away your solitude out of guilt. It's okay to say, I love you, but I need my own space. It's okay to choose a quiet apartment, a cozy little home near a park, a senior community where you can breathe. There is a kind of joy that only comes when the space you live in is truly yours. Your books on the shelf. Your chair by the window. Your music playing low in the evening. Your own rhythm gentle, unrushed, whole. Living alone doesn't mean being lonely. In fact, many older adults report feeling freer, happier, and more connected when they reclaim their space. Why? Because their visits with family become intentional. Their relationships deepen. Conversations feel lighter, warmer. There's no hidden resentment, no invisible debt, no confusion over roles. Just love pure and simple. So if you're facing the decision to move in or stay pause, ask yourself not what others expect of you, but what you need most. And if what you need is room to breathe, room to heal, room to simply be, honor that. You've given enough. Now is the time to give something back to yourself, the dignity of independence, and the beauty of choosing how you live not out of guilt, but out of grace. 4. Don't sacrifice your dignity or reputation to please others. Protect what took you a lifetime to build. There are certain things in life that take years, sometimes decades to build. Trust, integrity, character, and reputation. These are not things you're born with. They're earned day by day, word by word, decision by decision. And by the time you reach your 60s, 70s, or beyond, what you've built through a lifetime of effort is not just an image, it's your legacy. So I must say this with care and clarity. Do not allow anyone or anything to compromise the dignity you've worked so hard to preserve. It happens quietly. A child asks you to co-sign a loan you're not comfortable with. A neighbor gossips, and you stay silent even though you know the truth. A sibling stirs old family drama, and instead of walking away, you're pulled back in because you don't want to upset anyone. But people-pleasing, especially in your later years, often comes at the expense of your self-respect. Let me tell you about James. He was 79, a retired military officer with a reputation for fairness, steadiness, and wisdom. But when his youngest son began a business venture and asked him to lend his name as a guarantor, James hesitated. He didn't want to disappoint his son. He signed the papers. 6 months later, the business failed, and James's name was dragged through debt, embarrassment, and legal stress he should never have had to carry. I spent my life building trust, he told me. And in one moment of guilt, I gave it all away. This isn't just about money or legal trouble. It's about the quiet erosion of your identity. When you begin to compromise your values for the sake of keeping peace, you may win the moment, but you lose something sacred within yourself. As we age, we must guard not just our health, but our honor. Because in this stage of life, you are not required to please everyone. You are not here to prove anything. You are here to live in truth with gentleness, yes, but also with courage. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your compliance. You owe yourself peace. That means setting boundaries with grace. It means stepping away from conversations that belittle others. It means choosing not to entertain drama, manipulation, or false flattery. It means removing yourself from spaces where your worth is diminished, not defended. And it also means protecting your inner world, the part of you that still longs to be seen with clarity and respect. You see, dignity is not loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand applause. But it radiates in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak truth without hurting, and in the way you refuse to lower yourself just to fit in. Some people will not understand your silence. Others may take offense at your distance. Let them. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through every chapter. What matters is that when you look in the mirror each morning, you recognize the person staring back at you not as a shadow of who you used to be, but as someone who still stands tall, even as the world changes around you. If you're ever in doubt about a choice, ask yourself this: will this decision protect or weaken the dignity I've earned? And then act accordingly. Because in this season of life, protecting your dignity is not about pride. It's about peace. It's about looking at the life you've lived and saying, without apology, "This is who I am, and I will not undo it for anyone." You can be kind without being passive. You can be loving without being manipulated. And you can be generous without losing your name. Hold your name with care. It's one of the few treasures no one can give you and no one can take away, unless you offer it up yourself. Let others say what they will. Let time pass as it must. But you hold your dignity like a sacred flame. Because in the end, it will be the light that leads you home. 5. Don't cling to the past or drown others in nostalgia. Let memory be a gentle companion, not a loud guest. There's a certain warmth in remembering the past. A song that plays and takes you back to your first love. A smell from the kitchen that brings your mother's hands to mind. A story you've told so many times it feels like part of your bones. Memory, when cherished quietly, is one of life's greatest comforts. But when held too tightly, when clung to, repeated, and imposed upon others, it can become a weight. Not just for those who must listen, but for the soul that refuses to move forward. Let me speak gently to something I've seen many times in my work with older adults. The desire to be heard. The longing to be remembered. The fear of being forgotten. These feelings are real. They are valid. And sometimes, the only way we know how to express them is through stories of the past. Back in my day, when I was your age, I remember when things were different. But I urge you to pause, not because your stories are unworthy, but because they deserve the right audience, at the right time, in the right spirit. You see, when you speak of the past as if it were better than the present, younger people don't feel inspired. They feel diminished. And when you speak of yourself too often through the lens of what you used to be, you slowly erase the beauty of who you still are. I once met a woman named Carol. She was 76, a retired literature professor, brilliant and vibrant. But every time her grandchildren visited, she turned the visit into a history lesson. She meant well, but the children grew bored. They stopped coming as often. Carol began to feel unwanted. She wasn't. What they craved wasn't her memories. It was her presence. They wanted her to see them as they were, not as vessels for her nostalgia. They wanted to bake cookies, go for walks, talk about their lives, not relive hers. And here's what's important. Your past matters, but it's not the only thing that defines you. You are not just a scrapbook or a series of black and white photographs. You are still becoming, still shaping lives, still able to offer wisdom through listening more than telling. Let your memories become sacred spaces you return to with friends who remember them too. Share your stories with those who truly seek them, with old classmates, siblings, or kindred spirits who walk with the same rhythm. But with your children and grandchildren, give them space to tell their stories. Ask questions. Let their music play. Learn something new. Laugh at jokes you don't fully understand. Be curious. Be present. Because while nostalgia might feed your heart, it can sometimes starve the connection with those who are trying to live their moment. And here's something to remember. The past does not need to be shouted to be honored. It lives in your grace, in your eyes, in the way you touch a hand or respond to hurt or laugh without regret. It lives in your character, not just in your words. So don't use stories to prove your worth. You already have worth. Don't try to teach through memory alone. Teach through compassion, through listening, through gentle presence. And most of all, don't make your identity a museum exhibit. You are not what you used to do. You are what you choose to become now. Let the past be a companion, not a crutch. Let it sit beside you, not speak for you. And let your life today be as vibrant and full as the stories you love to tell. Because this moment, the one you're living right now, is also part of your legacy. And someone, someday, may remember it as their favorite once upon a time. 6. Don't let anger become your daily companion. Choose peace over pride, stillness over struggle. As the body begins to slow down, the heart often grows more sensitive. Things that once rolled off your back now settle into your chest. A careless word from your child. A noisy neighbor. A change in routine. The forgotten thank you. The overlooked call. It doesn't take much to sting. But here's what I've learned, after decades of walking with older adults through their most tender years. Anger in old age is rarely about the present. It's almost always about what remains unhealed from the past. It can come from a life of giving too much and receiving too little. From years of keeping silent while others spoke over you. From memories of sacrifice that were never acknowledged. From the fear, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud, that you are slowly becoming invisible. And so, anger rushes in. Like a shield. Like a protest. Like a cry for significance. But I urge you, with deep respect, don't let that anger define your final chapters. I once sat with a man named Leonard. He was 82, sharp-minded, quick-witted, and deeply loved by many, but he had become impossible to live with. His daughter told me, it's like walking on glass. One wrong sentence and the whole house turns cold. Leonard didn't see himself that way. But after a few conversations, he admitted something I've never forgotten. I think I'm angry that I still care so much and that fewer and fewer people seem to care about me. His honesty broke the room open. Because behind most elderly anger is not malice, it's mourning. Mourning lost time. Lost roles. Lost voices. And when grief has nowhere to go, it turns into frustration, resentment, even cruelty. But here's the good news. You don't have to carry it. You can choose, every morning, not to reach for anger like an old coat. You can let go of the stories that say you've been wronged. You can forgive even when no one asks for it. You can speak without shouting. You can feel deeply without hurting others. You can ask for what you need respectfully, clearly, without bitterness. Because peace is not something that falls into your lap. It's something you protect. Something you cultivate. And there is nothing more radiant than an elder whose presence brings calm instead of criticism, stillness instead of storms. You don't need to correct every mistake. You don't need to remind others how much better you did it. You don't need to raise your voice to prove you still matter. Your wisdom is not in your volume. It's in your vibration. Your energy. Your tone. Your restraint. And here's the truth. When you are calm, your body heals. When you are kind, your relationships soften. When you release the need to win, you finally begin to rest. Anger will knock. It always does. But you don't have to answer the door. Instead, answer the birdsong. Answer the quiet sunrise. Answer the child who wants to play. Answer the friend who calls to say, I miss your laughter. Answer the mirror not with fury, but with grace. Because in the end, no one remembers the argument. They remember how you made them feel. Let them feel safe with you. Let them feel loved. Let them feel, even in your silence, that being near you is like standing beside a fire, not too hot, not too wild, just warm. Let that be your legacy. 7. Don't let your mind grow idle. Stay curious. Stay alive. When people speak of aging, they often focus on what the body can no longer do. I can't lift like I used to. My knees ache in the morning. I need more rest these days. But there's another kind of decline that is far more dangerous, and it doesn't start in the bones or the joints. It starts in the mind. And it begins the moment you stop learning. The moment you stop asking questions. The moment you say, I'm too old for that. Let me be clear. The first sign of aging is not wrinkles. It's not grey hair. It's when your curiosity begins to fade. I've met 90-year-olds with sparkling eyes and questions that dance in their voice. And I've met 60-year-olds who already feel lifeless, not because their bodies are failing, but because they've stopped growing on the inside. So here's my gentle plea to you. Don't let your mind grow idle. You don't need to enroll in college or write a book, though you absolutely could. But you do need to stay mentally alive. Learn something small every day. Take up a new hobby. Ask your grandchildren about their music. Watch a documentary that challenges your beliefs. Read poetry. Practice a new language. Try painting. Even something as simple as learning a new recipe or planting a flower you've never seen before. Because when you stop learning, the world shrinks. But when you stay curious, it expands again, and so do you. I remember a woman named Teresa, 75, a retired nurse. She once told me, I spent so many years taking care of others that I forgot what I wanted to know for myself. So she started attending community lectures. She joined an online photography class. Within a year, she had more energy, more friends, and most importantly, more joy. She didn't reverse time. She filled it. You see, the brain is like a garden. If you leave it unattended, weeds grow. But if you plant new ideas, water them with effort, and give them light, something beautiful will always bloom. And it's never too late. Even now, your brain is capable of new connections, new thoughts, new insights. The science is clear. Lifelong learning sharpens memory, improves mood, and delays cognitive decline. But beyond the science, there is soul. And the soul, just like the mind, hungers for growth. What are you still curious about? What have you always wanted to understand, but never had the time? What did your younger self dream of doing but life got in the way? This is your time to try. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to master it. You just have to show up with wonder, with playfulness, with humility. And when you do, something inside you stirs. You begin to feel more awake, more engaged, more present. You begin to wake up not just because the sun has risen, but because you have something to look forward to. So don't let your mind wither in silence. Don't let the television do all the thinking. Don't let routine become your only rhythm. Instead, treat your brain like a dear old friend. Keep it active, keep it company, keep it curious. Because when the mind is alive, the spirit follows. And when the spirit is awake, even old age feels like a brand new morning. You are not finished learning. You are just now free enough to learn what matters most to you. So open the book. Ask the question. Plant the seed. And let your mind remind you. You're still here. You're still becoming. And you're still beautifully alive. 8. Don't let rigid seriousness rob you of life's lightness. Choose joy over judgment, playfulness over perfection. There is a certain kind of dignity that comes with age, a quiet grace, a natural authority, a deep knowing. But sometimes, without realizing it, that dignity hardens into something else, rigidity. You've likely heard the phrase, "Don't take life too seriously." It sounds like a cliché until you've spent enough years walking with people who did exactly that, who let rules eclipse joy, who traded smiles for standards, who became so concerned with how things should be that they forgot how beautiful life already was. I want to gently invite you to soften, because at this stage of life, where time is more precious than possessions, seriousness can become a burden, a barrier, a thief. I once met a retired accountant named Greg. He was sharp, meticulous, and principled. But every visit with his grandchildren ended in corrections: how they dressed, how they spoke, how they held their forks. He meant well. He thought he was teaching. But one day, his youngest granddaughter said, "Grandpa, I like it better when you laugh." That one sentence cracked him open. He realized he had become more invested in being right than being warm, more invested in maintaining standards than creating connection. And slowly, he began to change. He learned to let the rules go. He let his grandchildren beat him at board games. He danced in the kitchen. He wore mismatched socks one day, just to see them laugh. And something remarkable happened. He felt younger, not in body but in soul. Because the truth is, a playful heart is a youthful heart. And if there's one gift old age gives us, it's this: the freedom to no longer care so much about appearances, expectations, or societal applause. You've earned the right to be silly, to laugh at yourself, to make mistakes, to start something new and not be good at it, to say, "Who cares?" and mean it. Rigid people grow lonely, but light-hearted people attract joy. That doesn't mean being careless or childish. It means allowing space in your soul for lightness. It means choosing laughter over lecture, smiles over scolding, wonder over worry. Because joy is not a luxury in old age, it's a necessity. It keeps your spirit soft. It keeps your heart open. It keeps your relationships alive. You don't need to correct every little thing. You don't need to have the last word. You don't need to measure your days by productivity, perfection, or performance. You can measure them in moments. The sound of your spouse's gentle sigh as they nap beside you. The way sunlight dances through the curtain. The mess your grandchild makes while baking cookies. The melody of your favorite song on a rainy afternoon. The joy of letting go, just a little bit more each day. So breathe. Let life be a little less serious and a little more sacred. Not every sock needs to match. Not every dish needs to be spotless. Not every sentence needs to be wise. Sometimes, just being present with a soft heart and a light spirit is the most meaningful thing you can offer. In the end, no one will remember how serious you were, but they will remember how they felt when they were around you. Let them feel ease. Let them feel joy. Let them feel like life, even in its quietest, simplest form, is worth smiling about. Because it is. And so are you. 9. Stay young at heart, no matter your age, because youth is a spirit, not a number. There's a quiet illusion many people fall into as they grow older, a whisper that says, "You're not young anymore, so stop dreaming. You've passed your prime, so sit back and fade quietly. You've had your chance, now it's time to disappear." I'm here to tell you that's a lie. Because real youth, the kind that energizes the soul and lights up a room, has nothing to do with how many candles are on your cake. It lives in how you think, how you see, and how you love. You see, the body will inevitably age. That's nature. But the heart? The heart has a choice. You can be 80 and feel more alive than someone half your age. Not because you run marathons, but because you wake up curious. Because you still laugh at silly things. Because you see beauty in places others overlook. When you are young at heart, you don't pretend to be 25. You just allow joy to sit beside your wisdom. You keep your eyes open to life's small surprises. You hold a softness that says, "I'm still here. And I'm still growing." I once worked with a woman named Evelyn. She was 92 years old and had a sparkle in her eyes that made people smile the moment they met her. Every Tuesday, she would try a new recipe she found on the internet. Every Thursday, she danced in the living room by herself slowly, but with rhythm. She read mystery novels, texted her grandchildren with emojis, and took photos of the sky every morning. She once told me, "I may not have youth in my skin, but I have youth in my soul." And that made all the difference. Being young at heart means letting go of the belief that it's too late. It's never too late to fall in love with something new. To start a hobby. To wear a color that makes you feel bold. To change your routine. To say yes to a spontaneous walk or a silly joke or a deep conversation. It means choosing wonder over cynicism. It means allowing your spirit to dance even when your knees won't. And here's the truth. The world needs more elders with young hearts. People who bring joy into a room. People who remind the younger generations that aging doesn't mean giving up, it means showing up with grace, with humor, and with a quiet fire that never dies. Being young at heart doesn't mean being naive. It doesn't mean denying your age. It means embracing it without becoming hardened. It means laughing at yourself instead of judging others. It means forgiving faster, letting go easier, and choosing gratitude even when things are imperfect. It means looking in the mirror and saying, "Yes, I've changed. But I'm still me." So the next time you feel too old for something, ask yourself, is that your body talking or your fear? Because your soul is still full of possibilities. Wake it up. Surprise it. Take it somewhere new, even if it's just to the corner of your backyard you've never noticed. Let yourself be amazed again. Let yourself fall in love with mornings again. Let yourself believe, even now, that life still holds good things just for you. And when people ask your secret, smile. Tell them, "I'm not young because of how I move. I'm young because of how I live." 10. Learn to be a quiet observer of life. Let go of control. Embrace the view. There's a beautiful shift that happens when we grow older if we allow it. It is the moment we no longer feel the need to run the show, to steer every conversation, or to shape every outcome. It's when we discover that there's profound wisdom in simply watching, in listening, in observing without reacting, in letting life unfold, without trying to manage it all. It's not easy at first, especially if you've spent most of your life being the one who made the decisions, solved the problems, kept everyone together. But there comes a time, a sacred, quiet time when your power is no longer in what you say or do, but in how you see. I once knew a man named Arthur. He was a former pastor, known for his powerful voice and strong opinions. But in his late 70s, after his wife passed away and his children moved out of state, something in him softened. He stopped giving advice unless asked. He stopped insisting on being right. He started going for walks not to get anywhere, but just to notice the world around him. One afternoon, as we sat together on a park bench, he turned to me and said, "I used to think my worth was in what I did. Now I know. It's in how I witness." And he was right. There is a kind of quiet brilliance in older adults who learn to observe instead of interfere, to sit at the family table and smile gently instead of correcting everyone's grammar, to hear the younger generation speak in ways you don't fully understand and let them speak anyway, to watch your children make mistakes and trust they'll learn, just as you did. When you become a quiet observer, you step into your truest strength, because silence, at this age, is not weakness. It is reverence. It is the understanding that not everything needs your input. That presence can be more powerful than opinion. Letting go of control doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough to stop clinging. It means you recognize that your children have their own paths, that the world has changed and that's okay. That peace comes not from directing life, but from being present for it. It means you learn to admire the garden without rearranging the flowers, to savor the music without needing to pick the song, to sit in the audience gratefully, peacefully after spending years center stage. And in that stillness, something beautiful happens. People begin to lean in. Not because you're loud, but because your quiet has depth. Not because you demand attention, but because you give your attention so generously. You become the calm in the chaos, the steady gaze, the unshaken soul. You don't have to correct everything. You don't have to fix everyone. You don't have to raise your voice to feel heard. You are already heard in your grace. You are already seen in your restraint. You are already valued in your willingness to release what no longer needs your control. So today, try this. Sit back. Watch the sky change colors. Listen more than you speak. Smile without needing a reason. Let others take the lead and cheer them on quietly, from the sidelines. You are not fading. You are expanding inward. You are not being pushed aside. You are being given the greatest seat in the house. The view from wisdom. And that view is worth everything. 11. Let go of the past. You deserve peace, not the weight of what was. There is a kind of heaviness that doesn't show up in medical scans. It doesn't cause a limp. It doesn't make a sound. But it lives quietly in your chest, in your sighs, in the way your shoulders tighten when a certain name is mentioned, in the thoughts that arrive just before sleep. It is the weight of the past. And for many older adults, this is the last, hardest burden to release. Not because they want to carry it, but because they've never been told that it's okay to set it down. So I'll say it clearly, tenderly, and with every ounce of respect in my being. You are allowed to let go. You are allowed to release what you did not become. You are allowed to stop replaying the things you said or didn't say. You are allowed to forgive yourself for loving too much, or not enough. You are allowed to stop punishing yourself for staying too long, or leaving too soon. The past has already taken what it came to take. Don't let it take your peace, too. I once worked with a woman named Margaret. She was 81 and had carried a broken relationship with her sister for over 40 years. We haven't spoken since 1982, she told me. But I still fight with her in my mind every single day. She wasn't bitter. She was tired. So tired of the internal battle, of rehearsing the old hurt, of wearing armor no one could see. And when she finally whispered the words, "I forgive her, and I forgive myself," something inside her softened. She wept. But they were not tears of sorrow, they were the sound of a soul exhaling. Because sometimes, healing doesn't mean justice. It means surrender. It means deciding that your inner peace is more valuable than winning the argument. It means being more loyal to your future than your wounds. Letting go is not denial. It's not pretending it didn't matter. It's simply choosing not to let it own you anymore. You do not have to keep walking through life dragging ghosts behind you. You do not need to re-explain yourself to people who stopped listening decades ago. You do not have to keep bleeding from wounds that should have already scarred over. This is not about forgetting. It's about freeing. Freeing yourself from shame, from regret, from old labels you outgrew long ago, from people who hurt you and never said sorry, from versions of yourself that no longer reflect who you are becoming. You are not that mistake. You are not that broken moment. You are not the pain that visited you when you were too young, too trusting, too human. You are who you are today, stronger, wiser, and more capable of grace than ever before. So if there is something in your past that still grips your heart, I invite you to gently name it. Thank it for the lesson. And then, slowly, open your hand. Let it go. Because what awaits you, peace, joy, Presence cannot find a home in a soul that's cluttered with old stories. The world needs you whole. Not rehearsing your guilt. Not drowning in what ifs, but living truly living in the freedom of now. So breathe. Not for who you were. Not for what you lost. But for who you are still becoming. The final chapters of your life deserve clean pages. Give yourself that gift. 12. Let go of what you can't control. Learn to flow, not force. There's a quiet truth that aging reveals to us, not all at once, but slowly, in moments of frustration, disappointment, and surrender. It whispers, you can't control everything. Not your children. Not your health. Not the economy, the weather, the world. And certainly not the way others choose to live their lives. At first, that realization feels like a loss. Like you're being asked to let go of the steering wheel in a car you've driven your whole life. But in time, if you allow it, you come to understand that letting go of control is not giving up, it's giving yourself over to peace. Because the truth is, control was always an illusion. You might have planned the details of your days, but time had its own ideas. You might have raised your children with care, but their paths are their own. You might have done everything right, and still life surprised you with sorrow, with illness, with change you never asked for. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still becoming, still capable of grace. Let me share with you a story. I once counseled a man named Joseph, 78, a widower, retired engineer. He spent most of his life designing systems, solving problems, and fixing what was broken. So when his son made decisions he disagreed with, financial ones, parenting choices, career shifts, Joseph couldn't help but offer his opinion. Repeatedly. I just want what's best for him, he told me. But beneath that love was something else. Fear. Fear of not being needed. Fear of becoming irrelevant. Fear that letting go meant being forgotten. But one day, his son turned to him and said gently, Dad, I need you to trust that I'll find my own way, even if it's different from yours. And Joseph did something he hadn't done in years. He listened. He stopped pushing. He let go. And in that space, something beautiful bloomed. Respect. Their relationship softened. The phone calls became warmer. They laughed more. Fought less. Because letting go doesn't mean disconnecting. It means choosing trust over control. It means showing up with love, not with plans. It means replacing do it my way with I'm here for you, no matter how it turns out. This isn't just about family. It's about how we approach life itself. You can resist change or you can flow with it. You can fight time or you can dance alongside it. You can brace against uncertainty or you can stand still and let it pass through you. There's a peace that comes when you no longer need everything to go your way. There's freedom in letting life unfold, not because you're passive, but because you're wise enough to know the difference between what's yours to carry and what's not. So ask yourself gently, what are you still holding onto that isn't yours to control? What would happen if you stopped forcing and started flowing? Let others make their own choices. Let the weather change without complaint. Let the plans fall apart and see what new possibilities rise from the ashes. Life is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a river to be trusted. And when you learn to float without fear, without clenching, you find that the current carries you exactly where you're meant to be. Not always quickly. Not always cleanly. But always, faithfully, forward. So loosen your grip. Soften your jaw. Let go of the shoulds, the musts, the why didn't they, and replace them with this one quiet phrase. Let it be. Because peace isn't found in perfect outcomes. It's found in the sacred, simple choice to stop fighting what you can't control and start embracing what you still can. Your breath. Your presence. Your kindness. Your joy. 13. Nurture meaningful friendships. Even one loyal soul can light your world. There's a quiet myth about aging, one that creeps into the corners of our minds as the years go by. It whispers, you don't need friends anymore. Everyone's busy with their own lives. It's too late to build something new. But nothing could be further from the truth. Because in the later chapters of life, when children have their own families, when routines become quieter, and the pace of your days slows down, a loyal friend becomes less of a luxury and more of a lifeline. You see, we spend most of our early years surrounded by people. Classrooms, offices, neighborhoods, gatherings, teams. Connection feels inevitable. But after retirement, after the children move away, after loved ones pass, a new kind of silence can settle in. And unless we are intentional about nurturing friendship, real friendship, we risk drifting into isolation without even realizing it. So let me say this clearly. You still need friendship. Not hundreds of acquaintances. Not social media followers. But one or two souls who truly know your heart. People who can sit with you in silence and still make you feel heard. People who ask, "How are you really?" and wait for the real answer. People who remember your favorite flower. Your old stories. Your gentle humor. I once sat with a woman named Lorraine. She was 86, a widow. Her children lived across the country. "I'm not lonely," she said, "but I do feel unseen." Until one day, her old college roommate called her out of the blue. They hadn't spoken in 18 years. They talked for 2 hours. They laughed, they cried, they promised to speak again soon. And that small call, that quiet reconnect iron, it changed Lorraine's entire week. Sometimes, her entire mood. Because being known, even by one person, makes the world feel less heavy. And here's the beautiful part. It's never too late to build or rebuild connection. Send the letter. Make the call. Walk up to the neighbor you've been nodding at for years and ask about her garden. Join the book club. Visit the senior center. Start a conversation in line at the pharmacy. Not every seed becomes a tree, but some do. And one tree of friendship is enough to give you shade when life gets too hot, too lonely, too quiet. A true friend at this age is not about companionship for activities, it's about companionship for the soul. Someone who remembers what you've been through, who helps you laugh at yourself, who calls out the light in you when you've forgotten it's still there. And if you're blessed to still have old friends, tend to those bonds like a precious garden. Call them. Visit when you can. Forgive quickly. Celebrate often. Because friends in later life aren't just people to pass the time with, they are mirrors that remind you of who you are, and who you've always been beneath the noise of the world. And if you've lost friends along the way through distance, disagreement, or death, grieve them, honor them, but don't close the door to new ones. Even now, there are people in this world looking for someone exactly like you. Someone wise. Someone kind. Someone who doesn't need excitement, just realness. Someone who understands that joy doesn't come from noise but from connection. You don't have to be the life of the party. You just have to show up. With your heart open. With your past forgiven. With your presence offered freely. Because even one loyal soul, one warm hand across the table, one voice that says, "I see you, I hear you, I'm here," can light your world in the darkest seasons. So go find them. Or let them find you. You still need friendship. And friendship still needs you. 14. Serve the happiness of your own heart, because joy is a sacred responsibility. At some point in life, we begin to realize something unexpected. No one else is coming to make us happy. Not our children. Not our spouse. Not our achievements. Not even the comfort of a well-lived life. True happiness, deep, sustaining, and quiet in its strength, must be chosen, built, and served from within. And yet, so many people in their later years fall into a kind of emotional waiting room. Waiting for a phone call. Waiting for someone to visit. Waiting for circumstances to change. Waiting for permission to finally start enjoying life. But here's what I want to tell you. You don't need to wait any longer. Joy is not something you stumble upon. It's something you tend, like a garden. It needs sunlight. It needs attention. It needs your participation. And you especially now deserve to be an active participant in your own joy. I once spoke with a man named Ben, a retired teacher. He told me that after his wife passed, he spent 2 years doing nothing but sitting in the same chair, watching the same programs, eating the same meals. I thought the sadness would go away on its own, he said. But it didn't until I stood up and did something for myself. So he started walking. Just 5 minutes a day. Then he began painting. Then he adopted a rescue dog. Then he joined a community garden. None of these things changed his past, but they changed his present. And slowly, joy returned, not loudly, not all at once but quietly, like light seeping through a curtain. Because joy does not require perfection. It only requires presence. And the courage to believe that your happiness still matters. Serving your own joy doesn't mean being selfish. It means being faithful to your own breath, your own energy, your own limited time. You spent decades caring for others. Now is the season to care deeply for yourself. Ask yourself honestly, what brings me peace? What makes me feel alive? What simple pleasure have I denied myself for far too long? And then go do it. Start small. Buy the flowers. Walk by the water. Bake the cake, even if no one else is coming over. Play the music. Light the candle. Wear the color that makes you feel bold. Do it not to impress, not to distract, not to fill the void. Do it because you are still here, still breathing, still capable of joy. And joy, my friend, is not an accessory to life. It's a necessity. It's what gives meaning to the quiet moments. It's what makes the aches more bearable. It's what helps us forgive, soften, and shine even when life has been hard. You are not too old to be joyful. You are not too tired to smile. You are not too late to begin again. Even now, you can become the kind of person who wakes up with something to look forward to no matter how small. And the most beautiful part? When you serve your own joy, you radiate something that others feel. Your children feel it. Your friends feel it. Strangers feel it. Because joy is contagious. But it must begin with you. So don't wait. Don't ask for permission. Don't believe the lie that says joy belongs only to the young. Choose it. Cultivate it. Protect it. Because your joy, yes, your joy is sacred. And the life you're still living? It's worth being lived in color, not in gray. In laughter, not in silence. In fullness, not in fear. You've given the world so much. Now it's time to give something beautiful back to yourself. If you've made it this far, thank you. Not just for listening, but for opening your heart to each quiet truth we've shared. Not just for hearing these messages, but for holding them gently, like old photographs, soft at the edges, but still full of meaning. You've walked with me through a landscape few people talk about, but everyone eventually faces the inner world of aging. We spoke not of numbers or limitations, but of wisdom, of letting go of power, of perfection, of the past, of holding on to dignity, to joy, to the friendships that still bloom in late season. We explored the heavy and the light, the bitter and the sweet. And through it all, one message whispered again and again. You are not finished. Your worth did not expire when the children moved out, when the job ended, when your hair turned silver. You are not fading. You are ripening. You are not being left behind. You are being called inward to the deepest, richest, most meaningful chapter of your life. The world may rush around you. It may forget to look back. But that does not diminish who you are. Because the quietest trees still bear the most nourishing fruit. And the stillest souls often carry the deepest light. So take these messages not as rules, not as warnings, but as reflections. Let them echo in your day. Let them soften your footsteps. Let them remind you that peace is not something you chase. It's something you choose. Every day. You are still allowed to laugh. Still allowed to forgive. Still allowed to rest. Still allowed to grow. Let that be your new truth. Let that be your quiet rebellion against every voice that said, you're too old to matter. Because you do matter. You always have. And you always will. Now, before we part, may I ask something small of you? If these words have touched something in you, if they've reminded you of your strength, your softness, or your worth, please subscribe to this channel. Not for numbers. Not for fame. But so you don't miss the next message waiting just for you. And if you feel called, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. What truth stood out to you most? Which message felt like it was written just for your heart? Your voice might be the one that comforts someone else today. And lastly, please explore the other videos we've shared. Each one is a soft lantern along the path of growing older with grace, purpose, and quiet joy. Thank you, again, for walking this journey with me. Until next time, be kind to yourself. Be gentle with your days. And never forget, you are still beautifully, wholly, and wonderfully alive. Wishing you peace, presence, and everything good.